Welcome to Caskets and Cocktails, Memoirs of a Cemetery Dude. Get ready for a hilarious dive into the world of death care where cemetery industry veteran Mr. Danny and his daughter Katie will answer all those crazy questions you've been dying to ask. Go ahead and pour yourself a drink, pull up a rocking chair, and get ready for some laughs because we guarantee Caskets and Cocktails will be the last ones to let you down.
Hey guys, Katie Leverett here.
I'm Danny Faulkner, I'm her daddy.
And I'm Daniel Faulkner, the prodigal son. I emerged from the forest.
And this is Caskets and Cocktails. Welcome everybody, and clearly we have an extremely special guest.
What's up, dudes?
So, this is my brother and Mr. Danny's son, Daniel. Welcome to Caskets and Cocktails.
Nice to be here, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we have some awesome stories today, and it's really going to include some memories from you, right, Dee?
Yeah, I figured we could take a walk down memory lane today.
I love it. So before we get started, one thing I do want to say is we were just talking right before this, and Daniel was telling me about how one of his coworkers is a listener, and she had texted him and basically asked why I have such a thick accent and Daniel doesn't.
I still am perplexed by this because I'm pretty sure everybody listening's like, whatever, he totally does, but I don't know.
What happened, Daddy?
She was raised right.
That's right.
And I think you take after your mother.
Oh, well, that's why I'm the prodigal son. I've been away finding myself, and now...
Yes, he found himself
in South Georgia.
And a wife and 2 kids.
Yeah.
He keeps finding things.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, goodness. Well, welcome to the Caskets and Cocktails party. We are so excited to have you.
Whoop, whoop.
So, we get a lot of questions, right, Daddy, about kind of our family life and our dynamic and how we work, how we're involved in the industry, that sort of thing. So, I myself took a different path other than death care, and so did you, Dee, right?
I did indeed.
So, we don't work in death care, but we have so many stories and so many memories from it.
Yeah, we do.
What's something that really kind of stands out? Do you have like a specific memory that kind of hangs out?
So when I was a kid, I don't know, 12, 13 years old, maybe, what was I, 10?
Yeah, 10.
10, yeah. So it was me, you, and Granddaddy, and we all sat around for maybe about a week and built a really cool soapbox derby car.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's cool.
And it had a handbrake on it. And so the handbrake...
hold on.
Yeah.
Are you talking about one that you like sit in?
Yeah.
we
Like
made
a big wooden like box.
I feel like I have not even been part of our lives. Why do I feel like every story is like blows my mind?
Well, yeah, it's like a big wooden box and the handbrake. Well, like I know you're thinking like there was something to stop the wheels, but it wasn't. It was just a stick that I sort of pulled, and the stick dragged the ground. So,
And if you think back, the big wooden box was very similar to a casket.
yeah, well, that's why it was so easily built by y'all. So, anyways, yeah. So we built that. We worked on that for like a good week and a half, and then you took it up to the cemetery, and there was this huge hill in the cemetery. And
oh my gosh!
I remember,
that where like our grandparents are buried?
Yeah,
on
that's
top?
right. Yeah, that's right where
Okay.
Mamu's buried on that big hill. Mamu's our grandmother, by the way. And so anyways, we would start on the big hill, and I mean, it was steep. So I'd get going.
That hill is intense.
Yeah, and there'd be people getting buried right next to us while I'd be like screaming down this hill. Woo!
I thought that would build character.
Oh my God. And this was before the day of helmets, correct?
Oh yeah,
no
only
helmets.
sissies wear helmets.
Only sissies wear helmets.
Yeah.
Sissies and my clients.
So, FYI, I have a little boy who's doing Boy Scouts, and soapbox derby is like this tiny little car that you carve out of wood these days, and then you shoot it down a hill. It does not involve bodily harm whatsoever.
We put humans in these.
And we went real fast.
In a cemetery.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, he had to build clientele.
With his own child.
Yeah, right. And so I'm flying down this hill with a little handbrake, trying to drag it on the ground, trying to stop screaming because I'm careening straight for the office building right in front. I mean, it's coming up fast, but luckily, thank God, there was a flat spot where I sort of planed out.
Yeah, but you're okay.
Yeah.
You're not that much worse for the wear.
No, only a little bit of arthritis and all the joints that I broke, but I'm good.
Oh my goodness. So that is an incredible memory. And I sort of feel like I have no idea that ever happened.
I don't see how in the world.
We had to really talk you into it. And I kept saying, Dad, are you sure this is a good idea? And he would go, yeah, it's good for him. Good for him.
So basically we have a genetic line of bad decision makers.
Oh, yeah. Don't worry, it's all right.
You know what? It's okay. I love it. I'm glad that I married someone a little bit more with a stable head. I know he's the one, if I do something, he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, this is totally normal. So I guess I see now.
Well, one of the things that I think also stands out in Daniel's mind is that our head groundsman, Ed, who was quite an outdoorsman.
Yeah.
He carried a rifle with him.
He was
in
awesome.
his truck and all this stuff. He was quite a hunter and all this sort of thing. And he had a little chihuahua, a small chihuahua.
A beast of a dog.
Oh, and this was a great big man. And he was quite an outdoorsman, and he always he brought his dog to work every day. And he called it a bear dog because it was barely a dog.
Oh, that's cute.
Daniel and I would go down to this, they called it a river, and we'd go down, it was like a creek, and we'd fish. And
who is they? Was it like
the people people called it a river. It was
Okay.
Chickamauga River.
Okay.
And it was really a creek.
Okay.
And so Daniel looked at me, he said, Daddy, look, there's a snake. And we looked, and there was a big, huge copperhead.
Yeah, it was a big one.
Oh my goodness.
And he had gotten a frog by the back end. Stop
it.
And he saw us and we saw him. And he was more scared of us than we were of him.
Oh my God.
And he kept diving down, but the frog would puff up with air and it'd pop him back up.
Oh
yeah. It'd
the
pop
frog's
him back
like,
up.
not today, Copperhead.
I remember that. I remember him popping back up. That was crazy.
He was saying, well, what do we do? I said, go run, get Ed right now. Tell him to bring his rifle. And so he did, and Ed came running down there with the rifle. And the frog was there, the snake was there, and they kept bobbing up and down. And Daniel looked at Ed, and Daniel said, shoot him. Well, Ed got his gun, and he was probably 20 yards away.
He was he was at the top of the hill.
He was a long way away.
Yeah.
And he shot that rifle just as the frog and the snake popped out of the water.
Stop it.
It went through the frog and through the snake's head.
Oh.
It was a perfect shot.
It was perfect. It couldn't have been any better.
Now we have talked about how we love good snakes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Copperheads are not one of them.
Yes. No, that's gonna kill somebody.
Yeah.
So for all those animal lovers out there, we do love animals and we love snakes too, but we do not love copperheads.
You should see my son. He carries around 3 or 4 lizards at a time.
We're an animal-loving family, but
Yeah.
oh my goodness, I cannot believe that shot.
Well-
Was he a sniper or something in his back in the day?
He
Or
didn't-
did he just show up without much of a resume?
He didn't talk much about his past.
Yeah.
And I didn't ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Anybody that can shoot like that, you don't question them much. But to tell you, he took the snake. He went out and got the snake. He skinned it, cured the snake, cured the snake skin. And Daniel,
I still have it.
25 years later, still has that snake skin.
Sorry, I stole your ending.
Wow.
Yeah, well, that's okay. Your
He's
si-
new
your
to
sis-
this.
your
He's
sister,
new to this, right?
Your sister normally does.
Yeah, there you go. Well, so speaking of the bear dog, I know a guy who uses his Chihuahua and puts it in a cage to go alligator hunting, and he'll put it in the cage. Get the dog barking, and the alligators will come to eat the dog.
Wow.
He'll catch the alligators that way.
We run in a little bit of different crowds.
Well, it's South Georgia versus North
I
Georgia.
did.
Yeah,
I did tell
yeah.
you I came out of the woods. Sorry.
Well, I just love both of those memories. I think
Yeah.
those are just awesome. I tell you what, I am always amazed at kind of when we get together as a family, what we reminisce about and what we talk about. And I know a lot of folks at home, they email us all the time and kind of want to know about what our family life was like. And I jokingly say, like, we grew up in the cemetery. I know that you and I both have slung weed eaters in the cemetery.
Oh, yeah.
We've mowed and done all sorts of stuff.
Where
So-
did you learn how to shoot guns?
That's what I
In
was
the
about to say.
cemetery.
Yeah. On the same note,
Yeah.
we Dad got us our first 410 shotgun, and then the Walther PPK because it was the same gun that James Bond shot, so he wanted to get that. So we learned how to shoot the pistol and the shotgun in the cemetery. And Katie was actually a better shotgun shot than any of us were.
She was.
I
And
remember.
I thought I was such a
And
big
don't
deal
worry,
showing
I
her. and
still
she
am.
went,
I
Because
still am,
we put
guys.
the milk jug, filled it up with water a ways away, and Katie was still blasting it away.
So this is just like a sneak peek into some of our family life, and we are so blessed and lucky to have such an amazing family. And thank you, Daniel, for being
Oh,
here
yeah.
today.
Well, thanks for having
I hope
me.
that you'll come back on.
Yeah, I definitely will.
I feel like sometimes we have to wrestle our family members. I know when we had our first special guest, Miss Jeannie,
yes.
she was not excited about coming on.
Well, don't you know?
She loves listening to the show, but it's kind of hard.
Well, don't you know all of the people out there that are listening to us saying, damn, what a weird family.
I know, right? Right?
It's like a weirder Kardashian family. That's how I picture it.
With the clothes on.
Yeah.
And a whole lot more broke.
Yeah, we're weird Kardashians that wear clothes
Yeah.
and aren't billionaires.
Yeah, right.
Yet.
Yeah, we're
yeah.
on our way. We're on our
There you
way.
go.
We actually, to be more specific, we have earned so much money doing this that we were able to pay for a website.
Yes.
So we have a new website.
Absolutely. If you have not checked it out, be sure to go out there. It is www.casketsandcocktails.com, and it's awesome. You can see our latest Instagram feed, our latest Twitter feed. You can listen to the latest episode as well and see all of the amazing platforms that our podcast is at. And also, you'll get to see some great information about how you can donate to the show. I don't think we're going to become billionaires off of this. I hate to break it to
no.
this clan, but
I had already ordered a Rolls Royce.
we're going to have to get a lot more Patreon donations. But there is a spot where you can donate to help support the show. And we just do stuff like get a website, buy stickers, just really fun stuff to help support the show. But you guys, also what supports the show is Killer Trace. So if you guys hang on for just a second, we have a lot more really fun stuff to talk about in just a minute. Beach Too Sandy, Water Too Wet is a comedy podcast featuring brother and sister duo Alex and Christina as they recap dramatic readings of one-star reviews written by real people with not-so-real problems. Whether it's a bar's no throw-up policy, a barista who's just too friendly, or a school psychologist's fashion sense, prepare for equal amounts of laughter and eye-rolling. Listen to Beach Too Sandy, Water Too Wet on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, or any of your favorite podcast apps. You can also find them on all social media platforms at Beach Too Sandy.
All right.
Welcome back. We have Daniel with us still. Yay!
What's up, dudes?
We thought he was going to run away, but he didn't.
I did not.
We also have an awesome listener question from Ronnie in California.
Really?
And he or she, I'm not sure which, they would like to know, have you ever buried multiple bodies in a casket? So, I think they're referencing kind of Notebook style.
Still don't know what that is.
What is Notebook style?
The Notebook?
Like
It's like the most romantic movie in the world. It's about a husband whose wife has
Nicholas
Alzheimer's.
Sparks.
It is a Nicholas Sparks book.
All right, there we go.
Yeah, so the husband and wife die at the same time. Long story short. I mean, it is
It's like a car wreck or something?
It basically, you are going to hysterically cry through the whole movie.
Sounds beautiful.
However, they both died at the same time.
Yeah.
And would they have been buried in the same casket?
No,
Does that
hell
happen?
No.
Stop it! You just broke my heart. Because listen, hold on.
Sorry.
In the movie, she dies in the hospital bed, and he snugs up next to her, and then he just dies.
Oh, wow. All snugged up.
How does he die?
You don't want to know. I mean, he just
Does he?
closes his eyes and he dies. But I've always thought that they just lifted them both up and just put them both in a casket. And I think Ronnie might have too.
Well, Ronnie is mistaken.
And I guess I am too.
Yes,
and probably everyone who's ever watched The Notebook.
Yeah, is also mistaken.
Okay.
Okay, this is the way this works. All right, everybody gets their own casket. All right, it's like just one per customer. Okay, and it's now what happens is when there's an unfortunate event where there's a mother and a child die at the same time, then yes, quite often they're buried together
in the same casket.
in the same casket.
Oh,
Okay.
goodness. So it isn't unheard of.
It's not unheard of. It's kind of specific.
Yeah.
If a mother and a child die at the same time,
Gosh,
often
that's
they're
awful.
buried together.
Is it more
In
like a
the same
space
casket.
thing?
No, it's more of a
like a-
sentiment thing.
Yeah.
But
Very
if you
sentimental.
die Notebook style, it's not going to happen.
No.
Is that because the caskets aren't big enough?
Well, the caskets aren't built for two, okay? They're not like a car seat.
Okay.
But what happens is a lot of times, and we get this all the time, little old lady comes in to prearrange, and she says, now when I die, I've got a dog named Sydney.
Oh, yeah.
And I want Sydney to be put to sleep and cremated and buried
What?
with
Hold
me.
on.
Now, can you not see that dog going, what the hell?
If you had a healthy dog, you'd be like, hey, if I'm done, you're done?
Yeah.
Is that what they're saying?
Happens all the time.
That
and
is-
they say, the dog's going like, What the hell? I didn't even like that old woman.
This is
What do you-
Redfern gross
Don't
stuff.
be doing this.
I
Don't be doing this.
just want to know why Daniel was just pointing to himself.
Because earlier I told you about the horses.
Oh,
They were shooting horses and getting buried with their horses.
okay.
And you acted like I was a moron.
Yeah, that was weird. I thought.
People request that all the time. I have never, ever had a request from a little old lady that says, now when I die, if my husband's not dead, I want you to put his ass to sleep and put him in the same casket with me.
I mean, everybody realizes that The Notebook is a work of fiction. However, it's like so sweet, and if you've been married to somebody for like 100 years, you're like, oh, if they die, I want to die too. But I don't think that's really what happens.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. It doesn't happen that way in real life. No.
Just FYI, Miss Jeannie is sitting here, and she's saying, ain't gonna happen. She does not want to be put to sleep if Mr. Danny goes down.
No.
So she's giving the big X on that.
As a matter of fact, that's why I want a third opinion before she pulls the plug. They say, but ma'am, he only has an abrasion on his skull. I don't care. Pull the plug.
Oh my gosh. So it is possible that multiple people are buried in the same casket, but it doesn't happen often, and it is just under special circumstances.
Correct. Now, that is not to say that people aren't buried in the same grave. Okay? Because we have what's called double depth. We even have triple depth. To where people will be buried on top of one another, but not in the same casket, not in the same vault.
Wait, is that like a thing?
Yeah.
To be like stacked on top of each other?
Yeah, happens all the time.
Do you get a discount?
Mafia stuff.
Well, yeah, kind of mafia style, yeah. But, I mean, it is more affordable, yes. And that's why it's done. Because you're only buying one space. And then you're buying two vaults underneath.
Do you put like the heavier person on the bottom? How
No,
does that work?
Do you think they'll settle?
I don't know. I did.
It's in a casket.
I don't know. I don't know how this works.
It's
seems
whoever dies
odd.
first, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like winning a foot race.
Better
Whoever
hope-
dies first gets the best place.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, so Ronnie, I hope that answered your question. So apparently it can happen, and you know what? If you're not in the same casket, don't lose hope, because you potentially can be in the same grave as your
they
loved
could
one.
possibly smother you for the rest of eternity.
Double or triple the depth, apparently.
A lot of people choose cremation
Yeah.
as an alternative to a traditional funeral. And a lot of times, couples will want the cremains commingled with one another, and then the commingled cremains buried. I mean, if you think about the space required to do that, it's more possible than two people in a casket.
Yeah, I get that. And then, you know, I've always called dibs on Dad for years, because we've talked about turning them into diamonds, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be bigger than Mom.
Well, that's unfair. I haven't had any say in this. But I was thinking, if I'm commingling ashes, why wouldn't I just stop at like just the two of us? Keep on bringing it in, you know? Bring in everybody. Like, if we're
Like,
already,
it's a party?
Yeah, if we're already starting the commingling process, let's just bring in everybody.
Oh.
I mean,
Ooh, so that's how it
I
goes.
think you're taking it like a sexual thing. I'm not meaning it that way.
No, I'm not. I was not. That was weird.
You said it weird.
Okay, can we go on?
Yes, and
Okay.
speaking of sexual things, and also The Notebook, we have an amazing question from a podcast called Boobies and Newbies.
Boobies and newbies.
That's right.
That
That's
sounds
right.
fantastic.
And you know what,
I've got
guys?
to start listening to this.
Usually we play our our previews at the very end, but we are going to play it for you guys now because I'm hosting it with my dad and my brother, and apparently they thought, hey, this is the week to make it the most uncomfortable for Katie. So
let's listen to a podcast
we're
about
going to
boobies.
listen to a podcast about boobies and newbies with my dad and my brother. So hang on for just a moment.
Hey everybody, this is Kelly Reynolds, and I'm the host of Boobies and Newbies, the podcast that asks novice romance readers to think outside the dick in a box. Join me for a new episode every Friday as we review romance novels with non-romance readers. From the sweet, loving fairy tale romances of the Highlands. Who cares about Up Against the Wall by the fruit trees? Like, where's the dragon?
Inside the belly of a dragon.
To the naughty erotic threesomes with Navy SEALs.
Sex was a 10. I mean, you cannot get any better than this book. Come on, you guys.
Good.
Really.
We read it all. Check us out at Boobies Podcast on both Twitter and Instagram. Listen to previous episodes on any podcast streaming platform. You can also support Boobies and Newbies on patreon.com for lots of bonus booby content and early episode releases.
So I sort of hate my life right now.
Why? It wasn't awkward, was it?
Yeah, it was super awkward, but I do like romantic books. I don't know I think I've read like probably 2 out of the 3 or 4 they mentioned. So, guilty as charged. I do look like a good romance, and I like their podcast too, Boobies and Newbies. So
Beat that name.
check it out. I'm sure you guys are gonna rush out and download it.
Oh, I am
100%,
for
yeah.
sure. Oh, yeah, 100% sure that's going to happen.
The new
I don't need to know. I don't need to know any details. But it's a great podcast, and they had a great question.
Yeah.
They wanted to know, they heard that a lot of graves face the east. Is that true? And if so, why? I've never heard that. Have you, Daniel?
No, I don't know why.
Okay, I'll tell you why. Memorial parks came into vogue during the Victorian era, around the turn of the 20th century, and they started designing memorial parks to where people would be buried facing east. Mm-hmm. And that's because in the Bible it says when Christ returns, he will return as the rising sun.
Oh, that makes
Which the
sense.
sun rises from the east.
I never even thought about that.
I never either.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I've heard that, but I never really thought about it.
Yeah. Note to self in my future will.
Well,
I'm totally doing that.
I'll be like, what's up, Jesus? Here I am.
I'm all ready.
What
They
happens
even
is
buried me
when-
the right direction, man.
when Christ returns, the dead will rise from the grave. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So when they rise from the grave, they will be facing Jesus if they're buried facing the east.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like I said, that was at the turn of the 20th century.
Right.
Over the years, as properties were developed, depending on the topography and the size and all of that sort of thing, they had to have some facing east, some facing west, some facing north, some facing south.
Yeah.
And here it is over 100 years later, and I still have people ask me, well, now am I facing east?
Uh-huh.
And my answer is always the same, every time. If God can raise you from the dead, he can turn you around. So,
That's pretty true.
Hashtag true.
and so, it's the same thing with cremation. People will say, well, I don't want to be cremated because when God comes back, I won't be able to raise from the dead. Well, if the Son of God can return from heaven, he can automatically put you back together.
Yeah.
It's nothing to worry about.
These are all things I have never even contemplated.
I honestly, it just blows my mind that even was thought about.
And
But
people are really, really concerned about it.
But the last thing that I care about after I'm dead is what way I'm buried.
Yeah, I'm with
Well-
you.
I'm already dead.
Yeah. Apparently, we did not pay attention in Catholic school.
Yeah.
I feel like we should know more about this.
Those ties were way too tight.
Well, on our podcast, we talk about all sorts of different religions. We happen to be Christian, but we have a great respect for lots of other religions. And it's so interesting to see how every single different religion has a different kind of just background and thought behind it.
Well-
and so that is so cool. Being a Christian, I never would have ever thought about that. And that's super interesting considering
Feel
our
like
entire
I'm lacking.
Yeah, our entire school life. We went to Catholic or Christian school. We went to church like every single day, and I had no clue about this.
Well, I was fortunate enough to run cemeteries in New York State, and we had 5 different Jewish cemeteries, which they have different cultural processes. But in one cemetery, I had Jews, Muslims, Chinese, Hindus, Buddhists, and every culture is different. The way they do their send-offs, if you will. And it's really interesting.
That seems like a whole new episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But it's from burning money to not allowing women there.
Clearly, he hasn't been listening.
To not allowing women there, and when they open the hearse and all the men grab the casket and it goes up and down and around,
Yeah.
and they're all screaming and yelling, and you're thinking, oh hell, they're fixing to drop him, and they never drop them.
Yeah.
But it scares the hell out of you.
Yeah.
And they all have a great time.
Yeah.
Are you juggling a Fabergé egg?
And they enjoy it. They enjoy
Yeah.
it. It's great. And then they're all patting each other on the back afterwards. And so everybody's different.
Well, boobies and newbies, I don't know if I appreciate the intro because I feel super weird doing it with my dad and my brother, but it was such a good question. And I do like your podcast. It's
Send
really good.
pictures.
Oh my God. Well, guys, on that note, I just want to do a quick reminder. Be sure to follow us on social media at Caskets and Cocktails. Our Instagram page is going to have pictures with us and Daniel. Yay!
All right.
Yay!
Everybody's going to be like, oh, that family is so cute.
Are they going to say it like that?
But
Probably.
Not only in California.
Yeah. But
One thing that they need to understand and why they need to listen to us is because
we'll be the last ones to let you down.